Now to Washington, and Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene is taking her threats to oust the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, to the next level. She has announced that she will trigger her so-called motion to vacate, that's what they call it, her fellow Republican by next week. Greene is pledging to force another vote, despite acting in defiance, apparently, of former President Trump's wishes. He doesn't want to see this chaos in the campaign year. She says it's because Speaker Johnson continues to put Democrats over his own party. That's her accusation, and it'll eventually cost Republicans the House.
We have to have a Republican majority in January, and under Mike Johnson's leadership, we're not going to have one. Hakeem Jeffries is endorsing Mike Johnson because he knows Mike Johnson's leadership is going to hand the House majority to the Democrats in January.
Well, this is all coming as the House today is voting on the, quote, Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, a bill that is aimed at addressing the rise in anti-Semitism amid ongoing unrest on college campuses we've just seen over the Israel-Hamas war. Two different issues, of course. Protesting the war doesn't always mean, in fact, often doesn't, that there's any anti-Semitic bias, but this is politics. Our Jay O'Brien, tracking it all from Capitol Hill, joins us now. Jay, let's start first with Marjorie Taylor Greene and her motion to kick out Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Where do things stand with lawmakers on both sides of the aisle here?
Well, Greene's coalition still appears small, Terry. It's her and two other hardline members, Thomas Massie and Paul Gosar. They have all said they're the ones who want Johnson out. So when she triggers this vote next week, right now her numbers look like 3. And then we've also heard from Democratic leadership yesterday who say they will vote to push Greene's motion procedurally aside. They're not going to vote for Johnson. They're going to vote to do away with Greene's motion. So in addition to all of the other Republicans plus those Democrats, Johnson's job looks secure. There's also the specter, as you noted earlier, former President Trump in all of this. He does not want, he has publicly said, this infighting amongst congressional Republicans. And Marjorie Taylor Greene really tried to walk that line in her remarks earlier today, saying that she is still obviously a very significant supporter of the former presidents. She even donned a MAGA hat during that press conference to make that point. But also, she's going to go forward with this effort to boot Johnson against his wishes. Terry.
Yeah, it's quite a move. So, as she just said in that soundbite that we played, the Democrats, with the Democratic leader of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, stepping in here, willing to save Speaker Johnson. What do they have to gain by that?
It's interesting. Their statement says that Greene's effort to oust Johnson, if it were to be successful, would essentially throw the House into chaos, and that's why they're trying to step in here. That is true, by the way. Last time this happened to Kevin McCarthy, as you remember, the House went 22 days without a speaker, and the House was paralyzed. So there's that element of things, but also privately and, frankly, even publicly. I've heard from Democrats who say they feel they can trust Mike Johnson more than they could trust, for instance, Kevin McCarthy. Because Democrats did not jump in to bail out Kevin McCarthy the way they've offered to jump in and save Mike Johnson here. They view Johnson's push at the 11th hour, really, for Ukraine aid as a sign that they can trust him. They believe Johnson has acted in good faith with Democrats in the way that Kevin McCarthy, in their view, had not. And so they view that as something that means the Speaker is a partner in governing, that they can at least, while oppose his policies, work with. And that's why I've heard Democrats say, look, they would be willing to vote to bail Johnson out, in addition to what leadership has already said.
Yeah, he's a bit of a throwback that way, isn't he? And so far, it's keeping him in that hot seat. Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill, thanks very much.